Calaroga Shark Media.
Oh boy, on a day where my script program says, no, I can't make the font any larger. I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news, a daily briefing on stand-up comedy, comedians, and the comedy industry. Assuming I can even see my script. I'm not kidding. I went to make the text larger, and there is no larger. Oh my. Conan O'Brien was on Michelle Obama's podcast, as one does. Conan's not some sort of insider who has fancy celebrities at his holiday party. You know, he's this rascally outsider guy. Conan told Michelle Obama, I always say I'm a 51-52% optimist. I do say the world has always been filled with horribleness. There's always been trouble. When young people preach to me it's all over or say it's the end of the world, I say you have to understand this is the way it's always been and this is how it feels. Conan referenced the movie The African Queen. Spoilers for the 1951 film starring Katharine Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart. Good film, you should see it. Conan calls The African Queen a great metaphor for life. In the movie, spoilers, you had some time there. Hepburn and Bogart are lost in the thick woods. They're exhausted from trying to drag their boat forward. Convinced they'll never get out, they give up. Unaware that they're just feet from the river, Conan said, I always think about that. I think I've been there probably 35 times in my life when I thought I was on the boat, and I'm dead on the boat. Then I make it past that. He said nearly every stage of his career has come with one of those moments. You may recall critics did not think he would last on the late night show and said, then I make it past that. Later on, I got the Tonight Show, and I think I'm in good shape. Nope, that blows up, and now I thought it's really over. No, it's not. Keeps happening over and over again. There's just learning to roll with it, okay? What's my next opportunity? Reset, recommit, look for the next opportunity. That is something I try to impart to my kids. Good advice there, Conan. Conan adds, I'm a poster child for incredible luck. I've been very, very lucky, and I give it up for that. I also know that I work really hard, and I prepare, and I try to treat people the right way, but I get very angry when people don't give it up for luck. I'm also aware that what was my path as a white male coming up in the 1980s, 90s is a lot easier than a lot of other people in comedy and probably in any profession. We'll have a lot of Conan this week. He is hosting the Oscars on Sunday. The Hollywood Reporter did one of those fancy cover stories with him on Monday. I'm saving that for Saturday's Oscars preview episode. Meanwhile, Stephen Colbert was at the Writers Guild of America Awards on Sunday in New York City. Colbert was given the Walter Bernstein Award, which is for a member who has demonstrated with creativity, grace, and bravery a willingness to confront social injustice in the face of adversity. Colbert said he doesn't deserve any parallels to the namesake Walter Bernstein, who was blacklisted during McCarthyism in the 1950s. For being a member of the Communist Party, Colbert said, this is not the 1950s, this is not the Red Scare, and as far as I can tell, no one in late night is fermenting a revolution. As we know, the revolution will not be televised. It's going to be televised, but then Paramount bought it. Great joke. Great joke. He continued, evidently, the revolution was losing like $40 million a year. It had to go. I hear the revolution is thinking about starting a Substack. Good stuff there. Hey, where did the next story go? Oh, here it is. It's supposed to be third. It's moved itself to fifth. I don't know how that happened. David Cross has a new comedy special. It's already out. It's called The End of the Beginning of the End. It is the 9th of his career. It's available on his website already. They announced this on Monday, and they were like, it's already out, but it will be on YouTube April 7th, filmed in David Cross's home state of Georgia at the historic 40 Watt in Athens. David Cross tackles the chaos of modern America head-on, skewering authoritarian politics. Like what? What are you talking about? Really? Reproductive rights rollbacks, religious extremism, late-stage capitalism, and the uniquely American obsession with hoarding sneakers. Cross jokes, the whole thing was written by some of the cheapest AI available. Cameron Esposito has announced a new album. It is called Person of No Consequence. It'll be out Friday, March 20th on A Special Thing Records. Cameron is fantastic. Used to have a podcast where they would have local LA comedians. It was really good. What was that called? It's been gone for like 10 years already. That was really good. Anyway, it'll come to me as soon as I stop recording. Derek Stroop has a Netflix special out today, part of Nateland. You'll find Nostalgic on Netflix. In Nostalgic, Derek Stroop dives into his experience being a 90s kid in rural Alabama and everything that came along with it, from partying with friends to board games and parental relationships. Daily Show writer Matt Koff has a new special out today, Catman. It's on Veeps. In Catman, Matt Koff discusses divorce, middle age, and cats, sharing his thoughts on the world's bias against men with cats. He says people love cats, but men with cats make people uncomfortable, including me. I'm a man with a cat, and I'm creeped out by myself. Also out today, German-American comedian Mario Adrian, his special, My Struggle, which is a tongue-in-cheek nod to the title of a famous German leader's book. You know the really, 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 really evil guy that wrote a book? Mario specials called My Struggle. That'll be on YouTube starting at 9 a.m. Pacific today. This one was filmed across 4 sold-out shows at Dynasty Typewriter in L.A. Mario tackles his cultural experience as a German comedian living in America, exploring his German guilt, his German-Jewish marriage, and how L.A. is a bit different from his small hometown where he grew up chopping wood in the Black Forest. Kathleen Madigan, I love this one. This was in the Star-Telegram. We learned that Kathleen Madigan, back in 1978, won the Mid-Missouri Hoop Shoot Championship. Kathleen Madigan made 14 out of 15 attempts back in 1978, all underhand, and she said, "That is true, and then I retired." You have to remember, back then, this was not some school-sponsored thing. This was through, like, the Elks Lodge. There was some random thing my dad signed me up for because he treated the girls like the boys. My dad was a lawyer, and he saw sports for girls as a dead end. The next round was in Kansas City, which is why I wanted to do it. We lived in St. Louis, and I wanted to see Kansas City. There were 7 kids in my family. There was no such thing as travel sports back then. With my parents, it was like, if you can walk to the game, you can play, but we're not driving you. That reminds me, when I was 18, I coached baseball. I just wanted to coach baseball, so they handed, I don't know what... They were, how old were these kids? Would have been like 6th, 7th graders to some 18-year-olds, and this was in Queens. I didn't have a car. We would just walk to these fields, like neighborhoods away. You think the parents would drive some of us? No, I would carry this big bag on my back and go coach baseball. I loved it. And there wasn't travel baseball back then. This was CYO baseball in Queens. I was still doing CYO baseball as late as the turn of the century. And then you'd hear, like, the really good kids would be like, I'm playing travel baseball. And you'd be like, what's that? Now, I mean, 25 years later, forget it. Especially soccer. Boy, the big money came into soccer in the, right around 2010. The big money, the Brits all came over. And just basically... town soccer fell apart. County soccer fell apart. If you wanted to play anything, at least be competitive, you had to play in these travel leagues, and those were all like $4,000. So everybody support the World Baseball Classic, because what I want to do is I'm going to move to London, and I'm going to open up Big Apple Baseball, and I'm going to ramp up the accent a little bit and be like, hey, you want to be like Juan Soto? Let me show you how to do it. And then charge British parents $4,000 for me to teach them how to play baseball, and they'll be like, he's from New York City. He sounds right. Like, I don't know if these British guys were any good at soccer. They just looked right. I don't know. I digress. Yep, my wife just texted me asking me if I want McDonald's. The answer is yes. Hold on. Wow, she's the best. I got to hold on to her. I just ordered a 2 cheeseburger meal with a Diet Coke, in case you're curious. Where were we, and why don't you edit that out, John? The answer, as always, is because that's not fun. Kathleen Madigan was talking about travel sports and said, look at the commitment, all this money. My sister called me from Jim, Missouri. Oh, yeah, I remember all that. She's hoping and praying her kid would lose in the volleyball match. That's what I was saying. You'd be in this soccer tournament at like 8 in the morning, and if you win, you get to play in the championship game at like 4:30 on a Sunday, 2.5 hours from your house. And like part of you is like, yeah, I totally hope they win. It would be a shame if we didn't get to hang out here in these fields in the middle of nowhere all day. Kathleen said, I stay in Marriott courtyards all the time, and I see the parents of the kids' sports team. They're always just hanging out in the lobby, just drinking all the time. Speaking of sports, did you watch the Knicks on Sunday? You were like, hey, did Amy Schumer dance? No, it was a road game. Bill Maher was there. He was sitting in the front row. Bill Maher's got a lot of money. He was sitting courtside at the Lakers game. So whatever you think of Bill Maher, he's done it right for himself. Anyway, Lakers guard Marcus Smart crashed into Bill Maher in the middle of the game. I saw this myself on live television. Wrote myself a note, Bill Maher, in the script thing that I use. Seemed Bill Maher's finger got slightly injured. It was a little bit swollen. Hopefully, Bill Maher is doing okay. Marcus Smart re-entered the game and defeated the Knicks, which was very disappointing. Now, last night, Johnny Mac had to stay up late because the Knicks were playing the Clippers. And you know who used to be on the Clippers? Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin has tried stand-up comedy. See how I tied this all together? You couldn't plan it any better. Thanks, NBA schedule. Blake Griffin compared stand-up comedy to the NBA. He said, you finish a good game, you get the text from the people, you talk to people that were there, you feel the certain energy that's riding above everything else. It's the same when you have a good comedy set. I haven't had many of them, but you definitely feel this higher energy. Comedy is the same way as basketball for me. Putting in the time, going about constructing jokes, constructing a set the right way. It's important to me. I don't want to be this hack who only goes for the low-hanging fruit. Meanwhile, from tennis.com, your home for comedy news, Matt Rife took a tennis lesson with Chris Eubanks and discovers that Spanish grunting improves shot quality. I think we all knew that. Chris Eubanks, who, as you know, is the 2023 Wimbledon quarterfinalist, shared on social media. Super lucky today. Matt Rife asked Tennis Channel for the opportunity to get a good tennis coach. So who else to bring besides myself? Matt Rife said, the wrist is everything. Rife explained, Tennis Channel asked me if I wanted to embarrass myself. They were like, have you ever played before? I said, not a day in my life. So then they brought in the best. They warmed up doing some ground strokes. Then Matt Rife was taught on the art of grunting. Chris Eubanks said, maybe let the grunt determine the quality of the shot. Rife took the advice. Eubanks told Matt Rife, I feel like your shots are getting better with it. You're just letting go of the tension. When it was all done, Rife said that was tremendously harder than I thought it was going to be. He went to collect the balls. A young fan yelled out from above the court. Matt Rife yelled back to the mom, he should have no idea who I am. That's terrible parenting. Mom said, he's never seen your stuff. Matt Rife gave the young man some advice. Nice to meet you, buddy. Enjoy your future detentions. Well, if you've had the TV on, you'll see that we're bombing Iran for some reason. Stock market down, gas prices up. Over the weekend, the President of the United States showed up at the dignified transfer ceremony in a baseball cap. That's just your news recap. Fox News caught up with Max Amini. Now, the setup for this was like a lot of the articles lately about how Max Amini has gone from who's that to we're all going like, wait, who sold out Madison Square Garden? And then you answer the question, Max Amini. But what interests me today is Max Amini is of Iranian descent, born in Arizona in 1981. When he was 8 years old, the Aminis left Arizona and moved to Iran. Max lived there until he was 17. He explained, I was born into this family who promoted the Iranian culture in a very positive way to us. So I learned all the best things about my culture, and I was very lucky to be raised in America in an environment that was very patriotic. Max told Fox News he's not interested in bringing division onto the stage. He explains the beauty of stand-up comedy is you sort of take a perspective and you decide this is who I am, and you go on stage and you present that. I never liked politics. I hate politics. I just can't tell you how much I feel like politics is negative. It's a power game. It divides people. It makes you lie. It makes you do things just to win for your party. I'm very simple. I don't like the feeling of that complexity. Fox News points out that Max's interview with Fox took place before the recent news events. But Max did say freedom is something that today we understand is the most important thing for any human. If you can imagine how hard it is to be in any country as someone who lives in this beautiful country, can you imagine that they strip away all your rights? You're afraid of what you're saying. You can't do simple things in life, singing, dancing, basic things we take for granted. Women cannot sing or dance in public. They can't go out without their significant other freely, and people cannot exercise their beliefs, certain religions. It's very unimaginable for people who live in a free country like the U.S. or European countries that have so much respect for human rights. Max described the Iranian people, saying they're fun, they're hip, they're fashion-forward. When you understand just their taste in music and the way they enjoy their gatherings and how they live, you'll be surprised what the media shows and what the reality is. So I hope everybody gets a chance to see that soon. Again, this interview took place before recent news events. Max said, historically, when a country is held in this situation, they're held hostage. There is a regime that's absolutely brutal and they're killing their own people. The intervention is a must, and the rescue mission is the most beautiful act a country can do for these people. They're screaming out for help. And I think on that note, it is time to wrap up today's podcast. And that is your daily comedy news for today. Don't forget to vote for Comedy Survivor. When I last checked, the Facebook group was starting to gang up on Tig Notaro, which is very interesting. I think we're down to 7 names in Comedy Survivor now. It's going to get down to the nitty-gritty. Also, I've seen John Mulaney got his first vote. I think that's his first vote of the contest so far. If you're like, what is all this, John? Here, do this. Go to the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast Group. There, you'll find a picture of Bert Kreischer and me. We're both wearing shirts. Boy, I try to make a little cartoon image of Survivor every week. I didn't even tell you guys. Last week, to get Kevin Hart to render correctly, took 20 tries. It kept making Kevin Hart, who will admit to not being tall, absurdly tiny. And everything it rendered, I'm like, I'm not handing that in. So I finally got it to do something. And then this week, it just would not depict Bert Kreischer with a shirt off. I think it thought I was asking for something naughty. And I'm like, Bert Kreischer is known for not wearing a shirt. Here's images of Bert Kreischer not wearing shirts. And it just wouldn't do it. So Bert Kreischer's wearing a shirt and so am I, because nobody needs to see that. No. I mean, maybe in a shirt off contest, if I was standing next to Bert Kreischer, you might be like, hey, that guy on the right there has got it going on. But, in normal company, nobody needs to see that. Okay, TMI, Johnny Mac. That's your comedy news for today. Oh, here's what you do. Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast Group. Find the drawing. Vote. See you tomorrow.